And I tell you to break clean, watch yourself at all times, shake hands now, may the best man win. Good luck to both of you. Round one, that was the bell.
Speed called by many experts, the uncrowned heavyweight champion.
Welcome into another episode of That's Boxing Podcast. I'm Dust.
I'm Coach.
Coach is blacked out like Johnny Cash today.
Hey, man, you make it sound like I've been drinking.
You're blacked out like my ex-girlfriend.
Well, man, I'm just trying to look cool.
You're looking better, though.
I did look good.
I'll tell you that. Leather jacket, guy rides his motorcycle up here.
Yeah.
It's one of those days.
It's how you got to be. I'm cruising down the road. I got the Motley Crew going.
There you go.
I'm flipping off strangers. I'm living the dream.
Let me ask you this. On that bike, is your tank full or empty?
My tank is running dry.
Your tank is cheating. That's what it's doing. Let's get right into it, man. We got to break down this card. We were just talking about how, our podcast is a little different. We kind of wait for some dust to settle, no pun intended, and kind of get into all the news and where this all thing has landed. The New York Athletic Commission getting involved, issuing their ruling this morning, so we can get through how everything landed. But let's talk about the fight first.
Yeah, let's go through the whole fight.
So Tank's undefeated record. Do you say it comes to an end if you don't take a loss, but you take a draw?
No, he's still undefeated.
He's undefeated, but he's not. It's not 0-0. Now it's 0-1.
Yeah, just a little longer.
A little longer.
It's got a little tail on it.
So maybe an asterisk under Tank, but Lamont Roach almost does the impossible, knocking off Tank. But here's the final bell. Becomes the third man to ever do that in Tank's professional career, and the fight ends in a draw, a very controversial draw. So for those that didn't catch the fight, back and forth, slow start, as we've come to expect. A lot of respect, a lot of feeling out rounds in the beginning. Maybe could have gone either way. Tank starts to pick it up, 7th, 8th, 9th round, where we were kind of seeing that KO happen, which has been kind of Tank's MO the past couple fights. And in the 9th round, Tank takes a couple little feather kind of peppery shots, kind of to the eye area, unclear what happened, steps back, takes a knee, runs to the ref starts the count. He runs to the side. His team gets up on the apron, rubs his face, and the fight resumes. The ref stops the count, kind of admonishes Tank, hey, when you do that, it looks like you took a knee.
Yeah, he asked him, he's like, what's going on?
What's happening?
Yeah, what's going on here?
They let the fight keep going. Roach kind of comes on strong down the stretch, outlands Davis in total punches, throws almost twice the output of Tank, outlands him by maybe a margin of 10 punches, less a lot of jabs, less power punches, and in the end, one judge gives it for Tank by a round, and the other two split the difference, and we end up with a draw.
Yeah, it was not on anybody's bet slip.
I think
not even mine.
Well, you didn't put your money where your mouth is, but you called it.
But I never really bet, so it doesn't really matter. It's just bragging rights. I just want to say I know a little bit of something about boxing. And while on air last week, we did call for the classic Tank knockout show, and I think 99% of boxing analysts and fans and all saw it going that way. And no disrespect to Roach, it's just the Tank show, But the way we had talked about it, and we were putting some respect on Roach and his boxing ability and their background as contemporaries in the same boxing community. And I was thinking, you know what? This is going to be just hard enough for Tank where he won't be able to knock him out, but he's good enough to not look too bad. So maybe this is a recipe for a draw.
We've got the receipts, literally.
Yeah.
You texted me. Said
Crazy.
I think draws in the air. I think it could be the main event.
Yep. I wonder what the odds were on that, what the plus money on that.
A lot.
And specifically like a majority draw.
Yeah.
That would have been insane.
We'd be on the yacht right now.
Yeah, right. In the
Thanks
fucking
a lot.
Bahamas.
Yep.
I know, but here we are in Portland.
So, okay, we're watching the fight. We're texting back and forth. What were you thinking? I mean, I 7th, 8th, 9th started picking up. I was feeling good about the bet, right? I was feeling like he's starting to turn it on. He's starting to land more significant strikes. He really just has a pattern of a fighter who's not busy, who gives away those early rounds, feeling it out, and then he starts putting on the gas. And then he takes the knee.
Well, I'll tell you how it went for me. I'm at the house. It's a quiet night. And I get a phone call from a friend. He says, hey, I'm in town. Think I could hit the couch tonight. And we go way back. He's not a boxing friend. He's just an old buddy from, 20 years ago, working in restaurants. And he's a great guy, good friend. He was at my wedding. And of course, yes, come stay in my home. We'll be fine. He lives out on the coast, a couple hours away. So he shows up right about the time the pay-per-view starts. And I kind of got that, curse of the casual in the building where, I'm trying to watch the fights, but I'm also trying to be respectful to my guest. And
First mistake.
and yeah, and then I'm hyping the fight. I'm saying this guy's the last great American hero. This kid Tank, he's the people's champ. Man, he's must-watch TV. Don't blink. He's a slow starter, but he's a technical boxer. And then the rounds start ticking by, and I see my buddy being a great friend. He's not asking stupid questions. He's not talking. He's not making fun of nothing. He's just watching it. And he's a sports fan, so he appreciates a sporting event. But I'm watching him kind of get a little bored, get a little distracted, look at his phone. And then when that 9th round happened, I was just like, oh, man, I cursed this thing. This is not going the way it's supposed to go. Like, I almost threw the dude out. I said, Jesse, you got to go, man. You're ruining this fight. You cursed it with the casual.
Yep.
But I let him stay, and the fight went all the way. And it was an interesting. When he took the knee, I thought his mouth guard was out. The way he ran to the corner, and I thought, oh shit, they forgot the mouthpiece. But now we know that he had the grease in the eye.
So at the end of the fight, they ask him about the knee, and Tank says, I got my hair done recently, a couple days ago, and there's like product they put in it, and it was dripping. And Amanda Serrano actually came out and was like, I know that pain. I've had that exact same thing happen to me, and I've learned to not do that right before fights. Do you believe, Tank, that because there's a lot of questions on this. First is about the rules and what should have happened and what did happen and what should be done, and we got to get into that. And the second is that the reason he really did that? I mean, there's a lot of slow motion clips of like, oh, Roach kind of caught him right in the eye and he was blind or this or that.
Did one of his little locks like poke him in the eyeball?
I saw that
That's
too.
what I thought might have
Slow-mo
happened.
that he got clipped
Like
in
the
eye.
actual tip of the hair poked into the eyeball.
Yeah.
That was a potential. But either way, something happened, whether it was the hair poking him in the eye or the grease getting in the eye. But, man, a professional boxer spent a lifetime doing this, has a professional crew around him. They should know better than to put that in there as a variable for, hey, maybe you'll get some shit in your eye in the middle of this fight.
Yeah.
It's
I
like,
thought it was
how is that
interesting.
even a thing?
Yeah, like how is it in his DNA to think that he could do that? And this was an interesting thing. Like I was asking people like, yeah, how did he think that would be okay? Doesn't he know the rules of boxing? And people were like, no, like he literally doesn't. Like he did, because he didn't like act surprised. Like he like at the end of the fight, he's like, why would that be a 10-8 round? This or that. And then like he had no clue. And then later he wrote, I should have won the fight, but if it wasn't for the knee, I would have won the fight. And I'm like, what are you talking about? You would have lost the fight because of the knee. You won in spite of it, or you got the draw in spite of it. Just like complete like confusion. His trainer, I follow one of his trainers, Kenny Ellis, on Instagram, and he's like, of course, defending it, and he's posting snippets of rules. These rules quotes that are like, if a fighter has a malfunctioning piece of equipment, they can take a knee to pause the fight at the ref's discretion. And I'm like copy and pasting this, and these are amateur rules. They're literally from the amateur boxing. Like, no, you can't do that.
Yeah, that's literal amateur hour, dude. Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a theory a little bit about what happened here is that, and it goes back to a previous fight Tank had with Hector Luis Garcia. If you remember, there was an altercation in the crowd during the fight. Mm-hmm. And Tank literally motioned to the fighter and the ref and then pointed out the altercation. And they all kind of paused and looked at it.
Right.
And that shows me that he's got this level of perception that he's aware of everything that's happening all around, and he's in control of everything. He's the ringleader of the circus. He's the first person character in this world he's living in. And he doesn't think about the repercussions of his actions sometimes because it's his show and we're all just guest stars, right? Some of us lucky enough to be. So I think he was just like, it's just he's not thinking about rules. Why do I got to follow rules?
Right.
I'm king shit on top of the fucking mountain right now. I can do whatever I want.
Exactly.
Like, hey, hold up, let me fix my eye. Let's get back to work. What's the problem? Like, and that's exactly, I think, what his thought process was. Like, what's the fucking problem, man? I had some shit in my eye. Get over it. But I think it shows his composure in the moment that he's certainly in control of his emotions. He's in control of his actions, but not really aware of the repercussions of them sometimes.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. And you know what? Joke's on us. He was right, because that's exactly what happened, and he didn't get the point deduction.
Yeah.
So what should have happened by the rules, takes the knee, immediate count, 10-8 round.
Yes.
Period. That's a knockdown. Then When he runs over and his team gets up on the apron, immediate disqualification.
Yes.
Up on the apron in the middle of the round. That's it. Disqualified, Roach wins.
Yeah.
Now, of course, no one wants to see the fight end that way, and I'd prefer a referee discretion to push him off the canvas and say you can't do that, and that's a warning or whatever, because you don't want to just, alter the fight that much. But it should have been a 10-8 round, and if it had been counted a 10-8 round, because all three judges had Roach winning that round, that would have been it. That would have been the margin, and Roach would have won.
Yeah, but my take on that, which is rules are rules and facts are facts, but whatever. If they would have followed the rules in any one of those scenarios, DQ or it lost on points because of the knee, it doesn't give Roach the people's win. You know what I'm saying? It would have been like, oh, what? That's why he lost? It wasn't like Roach dominated him, Roach dropped him, Roach knocked him out, Roach fucking dog walked him. No, it was like a technicality caused the thing. And nobody would have respected the win for Roach.
But you're saying that with the hindsight. So Roach's team appealed to the New York Athletic Commission and asked for one of those outcomes. They said either make it retroactively a 10-8 round and therefore I win on points, or make it a DQ and therefore I win. I agree with you. If the commission had come out and done that, we all would be sitting here like, well, it was really a draw, but he won on a technicality, right? But if it had happened live in the moment, we would have thought, oh shit, Tank took a knee, 10-8 round. Now he's really down on the cards. He's got to come back and knock him out. And we would have been on the edge of our seats for the 10th, 11th, 12th. And when he didn't knock him out and Roach actually outperformed him in the championship rounds, and they announced the scorecards, we would have thought, oh shit, he did the impossible. He just beat Tank on points.
Yeah, I agree. In the moment, we would have had a different reaction. But long term, obviously a rematch would have been immediate, and, it wouldn't have been an emphatic enough win, I think, to disrupt Tank's career. That loss would have just kind of been like what happened to Canelo. Like, yeah, I lost, but whatever. Who was that guy anyways? Everybody wants to see me.
Yeah. I mean, no, he's still going to sell out and everything, but, Tank had a rematch clause in the contract. If he lost, he got the rematch. Roach did not. So if Roach had won on points, then they got to run it back, right? Obviously, that's what's going to happen. I think now, who knows? I mean, Tank said, yeah, we can do a rematch on Twitter. He was like, we can do it, really soon, even in a couple months. But they also asked him, who are you going to call out? Did you hear this? Who are you going to call out? And he was like, I was going to call someone out for the first time in my career after this fight, but now I can't do it. Oh, who are you going to call out? He said, I'm not going to say, but he was in my dressing room tonight. Did you hear this? Who was the only fighter in Tank's dressing room that night?
I don't know.
Jake Paul.
Oh, come on.
That's what he said. That was the only boxer in there.
That's out of control, dude. That's physically impossible. Like, who's gonna weigh what? You know,
pretty wild. Jake Paul's cutting down to 135.
That's like, well, Jake Paul just made a statement saying Floyd Mayweather wouldn't fight him because Floyd insisted he weigh 160.
Yeah.
It's just Floyd's way of saying, you're too fucking big, man. Get out of here.
I mean, I don't think Floyd gives a shit. Floyd fought his brother.
Yeah.
His brother's bigger than him, or as big.
Yeah, it's true. But I think Jake is the better boxer.
Sure, but that's easy work for Floyd.
Yeah,
I think Floyd pieces that dude out. Even with the age difference, weight difference, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, well, yeah, I don't know about that, man. I mean, that would have been a little silly, but so there's no rematch clause. This isn't set. It's just going to be, whatever Al Heyman wants to do, because this is Al Heyman's show.
Or whatever Tank says.
What's the guy from the movie with the curtain and the
Wizard of Oz?
Yeah, that's the guy. He's the Wizard of Oz. Okay, He's the Wizard of Box.
But if you're Tank, how do you not run this back ASAP
immediately
and get your respect back?
Exactly. He said, I've always said I like how transparent and honest and just direct Tank is with his interviews and his candor. And he said in the post fight in the ring, like, yeah, I was being cautious at the end. Like, he just like, I was being cautious. Like, I don't remember exactly what he said, but paraphrasing, basically, like, yeah, I respected him enough to be cautious all the way through to the end. And
yeah.
And I'm like, damn, like, he didn't throw caution to the wind, and he was getting touched enough to have respect. And Roach, here's one thing I got wrong. I thought he was picking on the smaller guy, but as soon as he saw him in the ring next to each other, Roach was not the smaller man.
Yeah.
He had a big enough frame, and he was handling the punches just fine. He took some big shots and took them well. And the loophole did not appear for Tank, and he was, the inevitable happened. He got in there with a good enough boxer to stop him from pulling off his little magic trick that he does, every once or twice a year, where he loses until he knocks you out.
So what do you think Roach did that was the difference that no one else could figure out how to do?
Counterpunching Yeah, right. Counterpunching, good clean counterpunching. He had good natural instinctive defense to ride and roll with punches, so he wasn't headbutting shots. He didn't rush into anything, which made those first 6 rounds very slow and cautious from both people. They kind of matched each other's energy a little bit. He didn't bull rush in there with this, like, I got to get this guy out of here attitude, like we saw with Rolly Romero, or like we saw with the tough and always ready Pitbull Cruz. He just kept coming, kept rocking him, running into punches, So this guy was cautious. This guy boxed. He boxed really smart.
I agree. I think he kept the jab going. Like I said, threw more than double the punches that Tank threw. Also, did you see Tank's post on X? He's like, I landed more punches than this guy. This is BS. And he got a community note underneath it that was like, actually, you landed less punches. Yeah, he kept the jab going, which I think really never let Tank set. And I think, to your point, which is the most astute, he was comfortable to take the fight round by round, and he knew in the closing seconds of the round, okay, I probably took that round because I landed 4 more punches than him. That thin a margin. He didn't press the action to do anything too definitive, which is a bit risky because you're leaving it to the judges, but it's more risky to try to dominate Tank and come in and get Rolly Romero.
Yeah.
Right? And he just put together this kind of brilliant performance of squeaking by enough rounds to really do enough work.
Yeah.
And that allowed him to be cautious enough to frustrate Tank. And it felt like the fight never really got going. I can picture your friend sitting on the couch like, man, boxing isn't that exciting. Where to us, we're seeing somebody dismantle a bomb in front of us.
Yeah, absolutely. There was a sequence early in the fight where Tank exploded forward with like a 1-2-1 kind of skipping explosiveness. And Roach just slid right back with the mirrored reverse footwork and blocked everything. And then they settled back and they both smiled. This recognition of like, oh, like, I remember you. Like, right. I know your tricks and I'm ready to go. And it was just like, oh, okay, this is going to be a long night for both of us.
Right.
And he didn't do what Frank Martin did. Roach didn't do what Frank Martin did. He didn't give too much space away and get caught on the ropes. Mm-hmm. It didn't look like a man who was, halfway through, I started realizing it's not starting to look like the tightrope. It looked like they were both walking the tightrope instead of one man about to get pushed off. Now, I will say about the rule about the coaches or anybody getting on the apron or up the stairs during the fight being an immediate disqualification. It goes in line with throwing in the towel. It's like you go up in the stairs, you're like, oh my God, stop the fight. Now, if you go back about, I don't know how many years ago, 8 or 10 years ago, there was a fight with Carl Froch and Lucien Boutet, the Frenchman. Carl Froch is whooping up on Lucien. The referee steps in, pushes him back, and it looks like he's waving off the fight. Eddie Hearn comes flying into the ring, starts to celebrate. He wants to pick up Froch. He wants to celebrate. They start dancing. Luckily for him, the referee hadn't seen this. His back was turned. The referee's actually administering a count. The fight isn't over.
Oh, shit.
Eddie Hearn's in the ring. He realizes somebody's yelling from the apron, get the fuck out of there. Eddie Hearn gets out of the ring before the referee notices. The fight continues and is stopped shortly thereafter.
Oh, my God.
But this guy almost disqualified his man. Right. He really did in retrospect, as we're retroactively disqualifying Tank, clearly on video, but the referee just didn't see it.
That's wild.
If he would have seen it, fight's over.
Right.
But you lose, Carl Froch, and your victory is ripped away from you by your very own promoter. And these are the things that can happen in boxing. He's like, wow, well, you're looking back at it, you really fucked that up, Eddie.
And those aren't the things we want to see. I mean, candidly, even with this fight, I don't want to see a retroactive 10-8 round. It is what it is. It ended in the draw. It was a razor-thin fight.
It was a good fight. It really was.
It was a good fight. It was a chess match. You look at the first 6 rounds, and yeah, Roach took a lot of those, which is what he needed to get the draw. But a lot of the punch differential in those rounds is 2 punches. So it wasn't dominant. And what, in a just world, what we really want is just run that fight back. 2 months from now. Just Bivol, Beterbiev, throw him back in the ring, and let's go. And I hope that we get that as fans. And for Tank, I don't know where he goes from here. I mean, I've been saying from the beginning, I think Shakur beats Tank. And I think he's the fighter to do it. After watching that, I'm way more confident. Because Shakur is going to be naturally on the bigger side compared to Tank, as Roach was. He's going to way more active and efficacious with his jab. He's going to frustrate him. He's a master of distance, and he's the master of letting rounds squeak by. And he's the master of discipline, of not needing to do something and go out there and prove something stupid. He's not going to be on the ropes like Martin was, as you said. Like, he's not going to press it like Pitbull. I mean, he's just going to dismantle that dude. I don't think Tank has the wherewithal to press the fight like that. Tank needs you to press the fight to him and make a mistake so that he can land something. And if you don't do that, he can't get inside. He can't figure out how to bring you into the booth and knock you out.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the fight to make at 135. Now, nobody was talking about it before, but that would have been Roach's chance to be a 2-division world champion. Yeah. That was a big deal for him. And, he almost pulled it off. I don't know if we're going to see the rematch, but everybody wants to know what's next for Tank. We'll just have to wait and see what they decide to do.
I think lesser opposition. I think he's going to not take the rematch. He's going to find somebody else, some other name that is just not even on our list right now. And I think Roach will go on to fight Keyshawn.
That's a good fight.
That's a great fight. And I think he'll just move on with his career. I hope I'm wrong. I hope they run it back. Because at least Roach deserves that. Another crack at it.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, he earned a lot of respect from a lot of people. He silenced all the critics. And definitely, Tank didn't take the L, but, he got humanized in there that night.
Yep. Well, who else got humanized was the fight right before that. Jose Valenzuela versus Gary Antoine Russell. Russell puts the hurt on, outboxes him, punches him.
Talk about output.
Throwing close to 100 punches around.
Amazing.
Looked like he was going to get the KO streak going, but Ryo is just very tough. Takes a shot. And, we were talking about this on the last pod. I ended up switching and taking Ryo to get knocked down and win by decision.
So close. You're like, fall down, brother, fall down.
Well, but he didn't win the decision.
Well, I know, but the blueprint was there for you to pull that off.
If he could have put anything together.
Well, he would have had to come back and knock him out to win.
Yeah.
So winning by decision, it was too late.
Actually, I didn't have win by decision. I'm sorry. I just had knockdown and win.
Right.
Yeah, so by the end, I was like, land one. But he's not that kind of boxer to land a single punch and knock him out.
He tried his leaping lead punch he threw against the kid, what's his name? Showtime. What do they call him? The kid he fought twice. And knockout of the year last year from New York.
Yeah.
They used to call him Young B-Hop back in the day when he was an amateur. Oh, why am I forgetting his name? Either way, he tried that signature leaping lead smash punch.
The lead hook?
Yeah.
Kind of thing, like the leaping left? Yeah.
But he didn't get it off. And, man, Russell just looked like the guy, man. He just looked like the man. He put on the best performance of the night. Best fighter of the night by far.
On every level. And he even at the end, he was going for the knockout. He's going for the stoppage. I was like, dude, I didn't give Ryo one round.
No. And for every moment of success Ryo had, he would get it. He would give it back. Russell would give it back in spades, man. He would get hit once or twice, give it back 3, 4, 5. And just say, nope, forget about that. And his punches were cleaner, more effective. And they were staggering Valenzuela at moments where I thought for sure he was going to either get stopped or waved off just a little bit more, They
got the doctor looking at him before the round started towards the end. I mean, it was brutal.
He looked defeated, halfway through the fight, and it was just like survival mode. And you could feel the frustration through the television, where he was just like, fuck, man, like, I can't get nothing going.
Yeah.
And he's got a world-class corner. He's got a world championship belt, and it's just can't get – he looked like completely outclassed.
Yeah.
It's only his toughness that kept him in there.
Yeah. I mean, you sent me stuff online. People are saying, it's, Ryo got done dirty because he's the champion and he didn't have a rematch clause and he has to go fight this great guy. And I'm sitting there like, man, cry me a river. Why does everybody have to get a rematch clause? I don't need to see everybody fight everybody twice.
No.
Like, that dude got completely destroyed. Like, build yourself up, get back in contention, win a belt somewhere else, and then go back to try to get your revenge a couple years from now.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a tough one to watch because I was rooting for him. I wanted to see him do something. But, whether something happened in the training camp or if he, everybody has a rough night at the office sometimes. Hopefully this doesn't become a habit for him to perform like this,
Mm-hmm.
or to underperform like this. But, man, Russell was just on fire, man. Hats off to him. He got that belt. He deserved it. And hopefully that belt isn't cursed. Like sometimes you see these belts, nobody can hold it for more than a fight. Hopefully he can hang on to it and defend it and put together a nice performance, a career performance here going forward because he's got a pretty low output when it comes to fights. He's been he's got 17 fights in like 10 years, It's like, so this is his chance to get to work, fight 2 or 3 times a year, defend the belt, and make himself a legacy fighter.
Mm-hmm.
But, the real secret to success is the fucking face mask inswell.
That was crazy. He looked like fucking Voltron.
The whole family uses it.
Yeah.
His brother used it when he fought too, and now his brother's his coach because their dad died, and that's a hell of a story right there too. It was, you don't want to fight the man on the night that he lost a loved one. I mean, he didn't lose him that night, but obviously,
yeah.
Over the last few months, the family has had to recover from that huge loss. So, man, tough night to be Valenzuela, but we're looking for him to come back and do something. But he's definitely going to have to start a little lower down the ranks and work his way back up again.
Well, Gary Russell looked great, and he now, becomes a belt holder, WBA at super lightweight, along with Puello, Hitchens, and Lopez. So the rematch with Puello for unification seems like the fight to make. He wants his revenge. It's his only loss. It's his only, other than this fight, non-knockout victory because he was on quite a streak there. And Puello fights right before him. We got that call right, 1 of 3 on the night. Called the decision against Sandor Martin, but he looked vulnerable. I mean, he was squeaking by a lot of those rounds, and
I thought that one was close to a draw.
Yeah,
I
was nervous. I was nervous at the end. I thought he did enough in the rounds. I was really scoring it round by round because I had money on it. But I think they got that one right. But it was definitely a close fight.
Martin's no joke, man. He's underrated. He's balding. That's not a good look. I'm like, how old are you? But he's got a lot of fights, a lot of experience, and he definitely had a little bit of fuck you on his punches in there. I feel like he got robbed in the fight with Tio, and now has another chance to fight on a big card in America, and he's like, I don't want to get fucking robbed again. And I bet they're a little salty going back to France, being like, fuck American judges, fuck this system.
Yeah,
because he was grunting and he was bumping in there, and he just didn't quite do enough. Good fight. Good fight.
I mean, he won some of the inside exchanges, but I think I'd say the inside work was close to 50-50, and then Puello just dominated from the outside. And so that was like he left too many minutes of the total fight trying to work his way in and getting peppered up. And, it just...
You got to be an all-terrain fighter. That was Andre Ward's first nickname before he was the son of God. All-terrain fighter. You got to be able to be adaptable. We see this a lot in the amateurs and the low-level pros. Guys are really good at one thing. They're really good at jabbing from that long range, but they don't know how to box against a guy who gets in their chest. So as soon as they get in there with a Pitbull Cruz, the party's over. Or they're a Pitbull Cruz and all they can do is come forward and throw bombs, and they get in there with a guy that can fight on the inside too, and they're like, wait, what? Who's this little fucker? Like, it's looking in a mirror, and they don't know how to fight the guy. You have to be adaptable. If you want to fight long range, you also need to be comfortable fighting close range. And it's important to train and push yourself in there. And I think some of these guys get so good at being who they are, and their coaches don't force them out of their comfort zone, that eventually they're going to run into that problem, that guy that can beat them. And it's up to these fighters to work on those small details. I think there's something we don't do a lot in boxing that you see in other sports, like situational training. So say in wrestling, you'll start your drill in a bad position,
right,
like with your opponent on your back. Now fight your way out.
Right.
So why on sparring don't we put a guy up against the ropes and start the round right there? But no, we always start the round with a come out, glove touch, and where everybody's comfortable. So I've been taking my fighters, I've been putting them in these uncomfortable situations, and say, hey, I don't want to see you do the same round that you're good at against the same guy that you sparred. I need to see you push yourself out of your comfort zone. So hopefully when the day comes, they get that guy they can't get on the inside with, they'll remember those lessons. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where Martin kind of struggled there. And he's got enough experience to know how to box in his comfort zone, but not quite outside of it, which is going to keep him out of the world class ranking probably for his entire career.
Yeah,
unless he calls me up and I can work with him.
Yeah, hey, the lines are open.
Yeah, always.
I agree. I think there's an interesting life philosophy I've heard. That's basically like, don't try to get better at what you're bad at. For me, spelling, math, being a decent human. Right, just
a comedian.
The idea is like just you're good at something, get so good at that because that will separate you and you'll excel more, right? And so I think if you can be so good at a thing that you can force that fighter to fight your fight and you'll never be in that uncomfortable position, then just drill that thing and be so good they're always going to have to do your game plan and you're comfortable the whole time. But that's 0.0001% of boxers. Invariably, you're going to get in a situation like you said, and you have to know how to switch gears and be able to do that. And that's the difference maker, I think, in a lot of fights.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why we always say experience is the greatest strength to have in boxing. Time spent doing things, whether you're the coach, you're the fighter, the cut man, the guy setting the ring up. You don't want the guy doing it for the first time when it's important, when it matters. So you have to train for these important moments long before they ever get there. And that's what we try to do in the gym. And then you see whatever happens in the ring is a result of what happened in the gym. Whatever happened to Valenzuela wasn't a fluke. It was built by whatever happened to him in the buildup, whether it be distractions in camp, an injury, whatever it was, or just purely being lazy and undertraining. I don't know the guy. Who knows? Whatever happened, taking the fight lightly, or maybe his nerves and his emotional problems kicked in. This sport is really hard emotionally for people beyond the realm of understanding for like we had our team tryout for our boxing gym last night. We got a lot of beginners in there getting hit hard for the first time. And I'm talking with the wife about it this morning, and she boxed back in the day. She sparred a lot, and she's like, "Oh, I remember what that was like the shock of getting smashed in the face with a big right hand punch for the first time, and being like, whoa!" And all your training goes out the window, and you have this huge emotional reaction. And then next time you spar, you remember that emotional reaction, so you carry that with you. And we were talking then again, going back to Tank and Roach, about how these guys, you remember in the post-fight, the guy's like, "Oh, you were saying some words in there to each other. What were you saying?" He was like, "I was. Oh yeah, I was just talking some shit." And Roach was like, "Yeah, whatever." And it's like these guys, that shows a lifetime of competitive boxing to the point where they can just turn it off like a valve, whoomp, like that. Like, I can be a total asshole. I'm gonna try to knock you the fuck out, but when that bell rings, ding, all right, man.
Right.
Take care of your family. I'll see you
later.
later.
I don't even remember what I was talking about.
I don't even remember what I was saying something. Now, that's a lifetime, though. Take it back to when they're beginners, 12, 13-year-old kids. They might have had to drag them off each other in the gym, talking shit to each other.
Right.
But they learned through experience, how to compose themselves and how to become this, true professional fighter. And then when the bell rings, ding, okay, whatever, man. Like,
right.
Because now it's not fighting anymore. Now it's assault. Now it's
right.
Now it's gunplay.
Right.
But in the ring, anything goes. As far as the rules, the Queensberry rules of boxing, or maybe you can bend them a little bit if you're the star of the show. You can bend the rules a little bit. And even the referee is like, "Whatever you want to do, kid, just tell me what to do."
I'm on the take.
And now Steve Willis, who's one of the most beloved referees before because of his hilarious facial expressions, is now one of the most not hated, but he's getting some hate. Because of this call. But I'll go back to what I said before in the final statement about it is it doesn't matter what happened because it wasn't enough to make the win impactful for Roach, and he would have always been in doubt, and he had an asterisk next to his win the same way now that Tank has an asterisk next to his draw. So
Yeah. No, I think you're right. Well, great card, another Amazon card. Want to see more of them. But let's get into some upcoming fights and some news.
Yeah, let's talk news. That's good. News report.
Well, first thing I want to talk about is, of course, we got to have another Saudi mega card because we just had one. So they're taking over Times Square. Outdoor event. I guess they're just dropping a ring in the middle of Times Square. I don't know if there's tickets, if it's just first come, first serve. We got to start camping out mid-April.
Is there like a hotel you can rent where you can overlook it?
Oh, that's a great idea.
Get that balcony, but you don't want to be higher than like the fourth floor.
That would be amazing.
I don't know if that's a thing. If it was in the 70s, there'd probably be some seedy hotels in there.
I'm gonna do some research.
Or if there's like a little Airbnb you can rent right there overlooking that joint.
That would be crazy.
That's boxing. We're thinking of some ideas over here.
Yeah. We're thinking of
thinking of some crazy shit.
Well, this is an interesting fight. It's kind of it's that concept of like get fighters that you want to see fight each other and have them fight other people next to each other.
Yeah.
This is my least favorite card design because they're like it's the best card, and I'm like, well, the card would immediately be better if you just rearranged who was fighting who.
It's like you're on a double date with the wrong partner.
Exactly.
You're like you want to be with that chick, but she's with your buddy, and she wants to be with that dude, but you're with her.
Right.
And the whole time
Both
you're just
girls
like, let's just switch seats, man. I know it.
Well, this fight, I just want to real quick run through the lineup and tell me who you favor in each of these matchups and how they're going to win. First fight up, the return of the dope man himself, Ryan Garcia, reinstated, and he's back to fight Rolly, Shit Talk, and Ramiro. How's this fight go down? Who wins and how?
Ryan Garcia, KO.
100%.
Under 6.
Under 6, I agree. I think, man, Garcia, I think he's underrated. I mean, maybe since he got the signature quote unquote win, the win that never happened over Devin the Dream, maybe people are kind of right sizing him now. But this is a dude who, at least for now, I think can coast on his natural ability. And we saw Rolly get put on skates from Pitbull, who has not aged well as a boxer, landing punches and not being able to stop anybody. And Ryan has the opposite issue, and he's going to catch Rolly with
a
that
perfect
hook
opponent.
Because
Rolly tries to punch his way out of trouble. Talk about a one-dimensional fighter who's not adaptable. He can punch hard as shit. When you see him working the heavy bag, if you had to spar that dude later that day, you'd be like, fuck, man, look at this motherfucker punch. But that's his downfall. He tries so hard to hit you, he leaves himself open for counter punches. His hands go flying out of position, and he comes rocketing his whole chest forward, and that counter left hook is going to smack him like it did Romero Duno back in the day with that first or second round, where it happened so fast and you can't even see it, and then the guy's face down on the ground. So that's my prediction there.
Spot on. And Rolly loves the right hand. He loves the straight right hand, and he's going to be opening that right side up, and that left hook's just gonna and that's gonna be all she wrote.
It's gonna be a show.
Cool fight though. I mean, definitely
it's gonna be entertaining.
All action. I love it. Devin Haney comes back to face Jose Ramirez.
Right, Ramirez coming off the loss to Barboza.
All
right, yeah, which wasn't a stinker of a loss. He just chased him around all night and never really pulled the trigger, if I recall. This will be the snoozer of the night, and it'll be a distance win for the comeback kid, trying to clean up his record, and Devin the Dream Haney.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, if an ascendant Josh Taylor, couldn't stop Ramirez, that was his other loss, unanimous decision. I think as long as Devin Haney is back about his wits and back about his business, and I think he's a man of discipline and integrity and all those things, he should be able to get back on track. And
moving up in weight. Well, this is at 147 pounds.
Is it?
He said his 2 fights at 140 weren't feeling good, and his body feels good at 147. I think this whole card is at 147.
I thought it was all like at weird catch weights and stuff, because these are all guys that like defy weight. Well,
we hit that fact check on that, but based on a quote I read, it led me to believe that this fight's at 147.
It's going up to 147. I always find it interesting when boxers like Haney fight the majority of their career at like 130. And then they move up to 135, and then they move up to 140 and take like 2 fights, and then they're like, I need to go to 147, and I'm like, in a year? How did that happen? Like, how are you making that much less weight? Like, the cut gets that bad that fast? It seems like it should be a slower transition.
Yeah, maybe the snack juice ain't working like it used to.
It just doesn't hit the same way. Yeah. But it seems. I don't know why they're comfortable risking it that much, because so many boxers, like we're going to talk about in a second, Teofimo, are so dominant at a weight, and they move up one division and suddenly just don't stop anybody.
Yeah, well, it's because the weight cutting they do is substantial. Remember, he came in at 165 for the fight against Regis Prograis. Well, on a fight, he weighed in at what? 140 pounds.
Oh, yeah, fight night 140. I think he was even higher than that. Yeah.
So for example, we didn't talk about this last pod because we had so much to talk about, and we had our special guest star coach Brian Green in the house, which was a great episode, by the way. And for all our loyal listeners, you'll be happy to hear he's going to come back. He'll be back. He would be here right now if he's handling some business. But while we were down in Vegas, when I was doing my thing a couple weeks ago, well, the one and only Caleb Plant was in the building, and he was there, just come to watch me fight, obviously. So I went over and said what's up to him, and he was real cordial and we talking. But I couldn't help but notice that while he fights at 168 and I fight, in my amateur version of boxing at 165 pounds, I weighed in at 163 pounds. This dude, obviously he's not in fight weight, but just you can see a man's frame, the size of his skull, his height and frame. I said, this dude's one size bigger than me, and he fights at 168. He's probably walking around at 185. Who knows? He looks like he's in shape, but it's just his head, his shoulders. He's just like, if I stood behind him, he would block me out. You know what I'm saying? I would disappear behind him because I'm just an inch smaller everywhere but where it counts, if you know what I'm talking about.
Pause.
So, nice fella, but you can see this dude, and he was a small 168 pounder when you saw him in there with David Benavidez, okay? And when you saw him in there with Canelo, he was a small 68er. So if he's a small 68er and he's bigger than me, then these big 68ers are humongous. So now we take that down to the 35-pound weight class. You're talking guys who probably walk around at 170, going down and fight at 135, losing like 40% of their body weight.
And that's interesting about Tank, getting back to that fight too, is I think he walks around pretty close to his fight weight. I mean, he doesn't blow up, you know? I mean,
Well, not in a while. He did.
he used to a long time ago, but even then it's like, I don't know, it's like water and bad weight, and like you know, because he's 5'5", he's a small guy. I think 135 is, you know, is close to his just natural. That's what I'm at, 140, something like that, you know? Which that's part of the reason I think they look for little guys to kind of pull up, because he probably should be campaigning at 130. I mean, you saw this fight, he's like weighed in at like 133.2 or something. Like he had plenty, you know, plenty to go. Roach hit like 134.8.
Yeah.
Whatever. All right, first fight up on this card. This is maybe a tougher one to call. So Teofimo Lopez comes back to fight Arnold Barboza, fresh off the Catterall win. How does this fight go down?
This could be the most competitive match of the night. I think this will be interesting. I think Barboza loses to a I don't want to say knockout. I don't think he's going to get knocked out. Maybe TKO.
TKO, okay. I'm putting my chips in. This is our disagreement. I'm putting my chips in right now, locking it in. Barboza by decision.
Wow, you think he can do it? You think
I think
he can finally break Teofimo's streak of getting favorable judging?
I think so. I think Teo is a counterpuncher. I think he's not stopping people at 140. Barboza's tough. I think Barboza is awkward as hell. And I think he's a counterpuncher as well. And I don't think Teo will be able to figure out how to crack the Barboza code. And I think it's going to be slow rounds, awkward rounds, headlocks, with Barboza jumping in forward and kind of pepper him, very similar to how Catterall was. And I just see it kind of being one of those grind the gears fights where at the end you're like, what's going on? And then split decision, Barboza.
Okay, I like that take, man. That should be interesting to watch. Teofimo, he definitely, he puts on a show, but will he be able to crack that code and find his way in there and let those hands go? I don't know. We've seen him struggle before a couple times. He struggled against that kid. You saw him live when he brought me back a T-shirt. That was awesome.
Yeah, Jermaine Ortiz.
He struggled there. That was a fight that I thought was not quite a robbery, but certainly a favorable gift. The cards didn't reflect the fight.
Yep.
And then again with the Sandor Martin fight, a similar thing where he struggled quite a bit against a guy who wanted to box off the back foot. So if Barboza wants to perform like he did in the Ramirez fight and Teofimo performs like Ramirez did, then I can definitely see it going that way.
Yeah, and I mean, look at his signature wins. Josh Taylor, great night, but an aggressive guy that was trying to come forward. And Teo looked great and did his thing and danced around him and looked awesome. But then like Steve Claggett, I mean, super dominant performance, couldn't stop him, but I don't hold that against him.
That's Steve, man, that's Steve.
He's a bulldozer.
You can't fuck with Steve.
That's a guy that just literally walks forward and throws 90 punches around. And that's not going to be Barboza. And I think Barboza is a tricky guy to train for. Like, who do you bring in sparring? Hey, like hop around and take an awkward angle and throw 4 arm punches and then run away from me.
Well, I think the Lopez is back with, or not back with, maybe for the first time working consistently with the Canelo team of Eddie Reynoso down there in San Diego, which is good news for him. Those guys, it's typically a winning team with a good program and Hall of Fame coaching, Hall of Fame crew in the gym. I mean, so if he can put his ego to the side and take some direction,
it'll help.
It'll help. And if he listens well and boxes well, and maybe his dad doesn't really need to be involved in the corner coaching. Maybe he can just be an assistant. Doesn't even have to get up on the apron during the fight.
Yep.
Let Reynoso do the coaching and.
That'll help. That'll help. But activity, I think, is another thing. I think Teo's a guy that does better the more active he is because he kind of gets in a groove. And, I mean, this will be just a month shy of a year since his last fight. And
his last fight was Claggett
in
Miami, which was like not a showcase fight, not a high-level opponent.
Exactly. And, meanwhile, Barboza just fought 2 weeks ago. So he's gonna be fresher. He's probably just rolling right back into camp. I think it's gonna play a factor.
Well, he just got that title too, and that could really motivate a man.
Yeah, he wants to hold on to that.
I think that happens in two different things can happen. This is really common in boxing when people achieve a goal or hit some kind of barrier, which is not too dissimilar from achieving the goal. You reach a moment. And when these guys reach the moment, they get the world title. Well, we saw it happen with Tyson Fury, and he said that, like, that was the goal. And then when he got it, he didn't know who he was. Like, what do I do now? Mm-hmm. And he kind of went off the deep end after he won the title. When he took it off Klitschko, that's when he really lost it, and he started going completely nuts and trying to crash his car and drinking himself to death, because it's like he had no vision of himself, and so he lost himself.
That's because no one ever told him there were other titles to win. He's never heard the word unify before.
And by the time he found out, it was a little too late.
A little too late twice.
And a cool dude from Ukraine took care of him. But then you got other guys that get that title, and their vision was like Canelo. Like, no, I am a world champion. I'm a Hall of Famer. I'm going to get all the belts. I'm going to do everything I can. Or Crawford. They see beyond the goal. And the goal is a lifetime and not just a moment. And I don't want to speculate about Ryo, but I think this is an example of somebody who gets a belt, loses a belt, because they are so, in the moment, like they got to the goal. Now what?
You're talking about Tio.
And I'm talking about Barboza.
But Barboza didn't get the belt. Barboza got the opportunity to get the belt.
Oh, that was right. There was like the Intercontinental.
Yeah, Tio's got the belt from Taylor. He's defended against Ortiz, defended against Claggett. This is his third defense.
I forgot he's got a belt because he's so inactive and he hasn't fought a contender.
He's the champion.
Oh, well, here we go.
That's what I'm saying. Barboza's coming in there to take that shit off of him. He's motivated, dialed in. He knows what he wants.
Okay.
He went across. I mean, he could have taken a better fight, easier fight with more money domestically, but he went over to England to fight Catterall because he said, this is my path to fight Tio to get the belt, and now he's one step closer. So I think he's going to be laser focused.
All right. Well, yeah. Okay. Well, I'll back that up a little bit because I was confused, like most people, on who's got what titles. But the fact remains, if you want to get the title, you got to look past it. Not look past the opponent, but look down the road. See the full vision of a career. It doesn't end when when you cross there's no finish line. There's just another step.
Unify, undisputed, move up, unify,
Hall of Fame.
Undisputed, rinse and repeat.
Hall of Fame, then become a coach and coach Hall of Famers, and then
Yeah, you got to stay on the ground. You got to have a reason.
On your headstone, it'll read like, could have done a little bit more.
Yeah.
Wasn't done yet.
One more round.
Oh man, shed a tear, man. That's what they got to put on Rocky's fucking gravestone when he dies.
Yeah,
I don't know. Whatever. What does he go by now? Sylvester or something?
Sly Stallone.
I don't know why Rocky is playing this character of this actor when he could have just been a boxer this whole time. I don't understand.
That's probably true. Yeah.
I mean, the guy was a boxer. They made a movie about him, and then he decides to change his whole career path and become an actor and go by a different name and live his whole life as this Stallone fella. I don't get it.
I don't get it.
Weird. That's one of the biggest losses in boxing, that we didn't have. This guy's identity crisis ruined what could have been one of the best careers in the sport. But hey, that's just my take on the Rocky situation.
That's boxing.
Yeah, I mean, Rocky is real. That's
Right.
a book I'm writing. It's not a conspiracy theory.
Because
it's a real book. It's truth. It's truth. You can see my YouTube channel called Boxing Truth Forever.
No, RFK reposted
United.
you. I saw it.
Yeah.
Another great fight got made. The trilogy is official. July 11th, Netflix. Taylor Serrano.
Wow. They just keep going.
They keep going. I respect Amanda Serrano so much, not just for beating Katie Taylor twice, but coming out.
It took me a second there.
She won both those. I'm sorry. Like, that's not a discussion. She won both the fights. She won the second one easier than she won the first one. But she came out and was like, this is bullshit. Fucking 3-minute rounds. Stop it. And Taylor, no thanks, declined.
Well, yeah, that's
the difference maker. I don't know if Serrano can get the fair shake because Taylor's headbutts are just too convincing to the judges. But 3-minute rounds, in my opinion, I know exactly why she wants those. I mean, first of all, because there's no reason on God's green earth to have women fight 2-minute rounds instead of 3-minute rounds. It just doesn't make any sense. And two is because she'll do better work. She'll put together a better game plan. She's a more complete boxer, and that shows more over 3 minutes. And when it's 2-minute rounds, all you got to do is literally put your head down and rock'em sock'em robots, and that's Taylor's whole game plan, and it works well when it's ring in, ring out.
Yeah, I agree. We should have a special guest star on here. My head coach, my boss and good friend Molly McConnell, as a retired professional lady boxer and the most decorated boxer in Oregon history. I want to hear her take on this. I know the answer to it, but I'd like our fans to hear what she thinks about 2-minute rounds and 3-minute rounds. I think it's bullshit that that there's restrictions, right? Like back when she fought, there was no women's in the Olympics. Like she just ran out of boxing. There was no women's Olympics, back in the early 2000s. They didn't start till 2012.
It's crazy.
So it's like, man, what the fuck? And they're still holding these restrictions in place. And it only furthers the criticism to say, well, they don't have to do it the way guys do it. That's why it's not as entertaining, or they don't train as hard. It just gives more fodder to the bullshit. Make it an equal playing field, with a round time at least. Come on,
it's
man.
just a better product. And you got Mauricio Suleiman from the WBC saying, oh, we did all this clinical research. And I'm like, I'm sorry, you did what?
Yeah.
Who the fuck are you?
Is there some kind of like uterus restriction? Like, get the fuck out of here.
Cardiovascularly, that's like, I'm sorry, they can fight for 3 minutes.
No, they don't fucking restrict them in the UFC. Yeah. Right? Like,
well, okay. Nice segue. Speaking of UFC, let's talk about the big news, which is, I mean, we've honestly been calling this for months now. We saw this thing coming. Turki Al-Sheikh, Saudi Arabia, entertainment minister and ministry comes out and inks a deal with TKO Promotions, Dana White's organization, to say we've bought the Ring magazine. We've brought that into the fold. Clearly, they're going to use the Ring belt as the springboard to launch this new boxing league, yet to be named, where Dana White says they're looking for 150 or so fighters to bring into this thing, and totally transparent. We're going to structure it just like the UFC. No more bullshit. Best fight the best. This is the league. This is the big change in boxing.
Well, this is stunning. This is incredible. And this is everything that people have been calling for years. But just like everything else in life, change is terrifying. And I feel there's going to be so many old timers, so many coaches, so many promoters that aren't willing to cross that line. And it's going to start off a little rough because it's going to be the people who don't have promotional contracts, the independent fighters fighting in their local hometown club scenes. They're going to have to build, just like they built the UFC from scratch and scrappy backyard fighter bullshits to what it is now, a prestigious fighting company with real, world respected champions. But it wasn't, 20 years ago. So this is going to take a long time to become what it needs to be respected, to have guys like Tank or fucking Crawford or somebody participate in it.
But they probably already got everybody but Tank. I mean, I think they're going to attack it from two angles, right? To your point, top down. So who are you going to call? You're going to get Frank Warren, Eddie Hearn, Al Heyman. You're going to get a couple people like that in your top ranks looking for a promotional home. Oh, okay, great. Here you go. Get DAZN, ink somebody like that in there. Okay, you got their stable of fighters. They're not going to leave when you do that, because you're going to say, here's the checks that you're going to be getting for fighting in this league. Like, oh, shit, okay. They're already working with them, so why not just work in the league, right? Now, maybe when they see the contract put in their face that says, wait a minute, I don't get to decide who I fight. It's just preordained.
Yeah, they have their own matchmakers, yeah.
Yeah, maybe that scares some people off, but I think you're going to get 70% of the current, champion, or let's say top 5 to 10 at each weight class, right? Which is, these are the primary fighters in each stable of each promotional company. If you only get 2 to 4 of these big kind of promotional companies, then from the bottom up, it seems even easier, right? UFC has all these training facilities. They've got 3 or 4 of them around the world, right, where people can come and train and get, basically brought up into the system and get ranked and work their way up. And if you're a local boxer who doesn't really have an avenue to break into the sport and you're kind of unknown, maybe you got one chance to fight on the under card on YouTube, you're jumping at that chance to get in this kind of system. So the bottom of the funnel is going to get filled up and the top's going to get filled up. And you're just going to have these middle stragglers like a Tank maybe, who's like, well, fuck you, I'm big enough. And it's like, okay, well, you just eat that loss, right? Or maybe some guys that are ranked 15th, 18th that aren't even name recognized, and you're like, I don't need you anyways.
Well, you have to, these guys will, over time, will age out of the system. It's like, think about it like a band, right? If your band is big enough to sell out the arena, then you don't need to play on the Warped Tour package show,
right?
On the side stage. But if you can't fucking sell out your local bar and you get a chance to play at the arena, even though you're part of like a 15 fight, you don't choose where you play in the lineup. You get told where to be and what to do. But man, I got this opportunity to shine in front of all these people, and maybe I'll get up on the big stage one day. That's the system, right? And so these independent, successful guys, they can, they're talking about Tanks in competition with Aerosmith, or no, the Rolling Stones for attendance at 2 different venues. He's like, it's him and the Stones
and Bad Bunny.
That
was number 3. I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah. So of course that was in New York, right? At the Barclays Center. But man, it's like those guys will age out. I mean, how much longer is Tank going to fight anyways? You know, like how many more big fights is he going to put on? These guys are looking to the future, and that's super exciting. Now, I'm curious to see how it's going to play out because the UFC, while there's good things to their formula, there's bad things as well. As a coach, I don't like some of the things they make you like. They don't allow the fighters to have their own sponsors. You know, everything's very sterilized. Coaches, I think, are even told like they have to wear like a uniform that they're given, and I'm not really like the kind of guy that wants to be told what to wear when I'm working. You know. But if it's in the interest of the fighters, I'll probably make those sacrifices if I'm in an opportunity as a coach to work with somebody in that position. We'll have to see how much of a role they take on with that, you know, down to the literal detail. Like, for example, in the MMA world and in the UFC world, they hire cut people and assign them. Mm-hmm. It's not your personal cut man. It's the one that's assigned to your corner for the night. And there's usually 2 to 4 of these guys that work all night long going back and forth. Per corner, you know, and wrapping hands, blah, 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 as opposed to boxing where it's all independent. Everybody's got their own world. Some guys don't even speak English. You know, I'll be in the locker room with these guys from Mexico and the Mexican coaches, and they're like, they have a rules meeting in English, and they're like, what the fuck are these guys even talking about? Like, and so they're going to have to work really hard to unify this very disjointed system. But it's exciting. And
I don't know. I don't know if it's something.
It's something.
If you judge success based on how many eyeballs watch boxing, I think this will create more viewership because it's going to probably be a better product as a spectator. Like more even fights, probably better run fights and cards and better promotion and things like that. Is it going to be good for the fighters? Maybe not. Maybe it'll create more opportunities for fighters to rise up. So it'll be more equal, but certainly the established fighters, they probably will command less leverage ultimately, or at least like if you're a fighter, it's probably going to be easier to get noticed and get ranked and get to the top. But once you're at the top, you'll make less money. Yeah. So which way do you kind of want it?
Yeah. You get a more of a chance to make it, but less when you get there.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a risk for sure. But we also don't want to see them monopolize this thing, and there needs to be other options. There needs to be competition in the business world, and there needs to, so they can't really just tank the guys and pay them $20,000 for fights they should have made $500,000 for. But they got a lot of work to do, and I won't really believe it till I see it.
I think the big issue is that people, not even just casuals, like even people that really give a shit about boxing and follow boxing, don't really care or like that there's 4 sanctioning bodies. Like, yeah, unification fights are like kind of exciting, like maybe if there were 2, but the fact that there's 4 and the rankings are all different and like they all have different rules about champions and recess and who fights who and interim, and then you've got add the continental and the intercontinental and the European, and it's kind of fun because it's such a disjointed web, but it's also like, wait, what? Like, which one do we care about? People are like, oh, the WBC, that's the best. It's like, is it? I don't know. Like, they're tapping into a real thing that's been problematic, I think. And I don't think they're going to have a lot of resistance just because at first when we were talking like 6 months ago, I was like, yeah, they should just buy up all the sanctioning bodies and then just delete them. And now I'm like, I think they can just pretend like they don't exist and just basically press forward as if the Ring magazine is the belt.
Yeah, just put them out of business through just out hustling them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, who gives a shit about those other belts? Stop looking at those other belts. But it's going to be weird for a while because you're going to have this centralized team. And then I guess if you sign up for it, then you can't fight for the other belts. So then they're just screwed because they're like, well, 3 of the guys in our top 10 rankings, we can't even make fights for them.
Yeah, that's why I say it's going to take time and a lot of money and a lot of it won't be so great, you know. It's just, and then we'll see how much control. Maybe they just sanction these things and then they kind of let them happen like they would have normally. And they don't actually like do it like the UFC, where it's like, you know, they take it around the world like this, the same package wherever it goes.
I think dude. It's Dana White, man. He's for good or bad, right? He's like the control. Like, this is what I'm doing. You're signing my deal. You're doing this thing. You're now in this thing. You wear this. You behave this way. Like you said, this is just the product.
You are a product. Yeah. Well, man, that's a trip, bro. That's a trip. We'll see. I mean, Turkey's been really successful, and he's been able to accomplish all these goals. So if he continues to trend that way, we'll see how this goes. But the one guy, he's kind of lovable, you know, Turkey. On the other hand, this guy Dana White, not so lovable, not the greatest guy, but kind of.
I don't know if either one is lovable.
I don't know. Well, there's something about Turkey where you can appreciate he loves the sport of boxing, and we have that in common.
Yeah.
I'm not sure so much how Dana White loves the sport of boxing. I think he just loves money.
Yeah. I mean, you can't tell what he thinks about anything because he's talking shit about boxing until he gets his deal, and now he loves boxing and thinks it's great. And some of his criticism, he's like, oh, no more of these, what did he say? Like, fucking cards that run terribly. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, yeah, every once in a while. But mostly the cards that have been, he said they'd take 9 hours. Those are mostly the Turkey cards where we have like a Missy Elliott concert in between fights. Like, he's just a business guy.
Did you see the numbers for the pay-per-view buys on the last Crescendo?
No, what were they?
45,000.
Oh my God. How is that possible?
That's insane. 45,000.
This is what I think about. When I think about this, I think about Rockefeller. Rockefeller, oil magnate, came in, would just open gas stations across from your gas station and sell gas at a loss till you were out of business because everyone's going to him because he's selling it for so cheap. And then as soon as you were out of business, he just quadrupled the prices more than you were doing it for. And it's like, yeah, Turkey can do all this stuff because he can do a $20 pay-per-view with the best card ever and only sell 45,000. And it just doesn't matter because he's not in the business of making money. He's in the business of promoting Saudi Arabia. And eventually, if you just keep doing that, you corral everyone in your stable, then you can start cutting costs. Then you can, hopefully sell more buys and all these things because you're the only game in town.
Dude, I think you're predicting the future right now. We're going to listen back to this episode and grab that little audio clip and play that in the future when boxers are complaining about being trapped in a system that doesn't allow them to make any money or make any choices about their own career. And everything will break out and fracture into segmented groups again in 20 years. If this thing even happens. So let's see what happens. It's boxing.
Happening.
I won't believe it till the bell rings and somebody, actually throws a punch.
Dude, it's happening. It's 100%. Well, what do we got? We got fights coming up, but we're in a bit of a lull here. Just looking at scrolling through the calendar coming up. Azinian's coming back. Ball Doheny, that's an interesting fight. The broken back man pause.
Old man Doheny.
Joe Smith coming back. Kambosos coming back. Fundora coming back. A lot of kind of comeback fighters getting their careers on track, trying to get active again, fighting the people we might not want to see him fight.
Has Fundora fought since the bloodbath?
No.
So he won that fight.
Yeah.
Has he not defended that belt?
No.
Man, what a mess.
Because he was supposed to fight Spence, and then maybe it was going to be Crawford, and it's just nothing happening. And then it's then you come out and fight this guy, and it's dude, you should have done this 10 months ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you already know Zepeda Farmer, too. That's the one I'm looking forward to most in March.
Let's go Farmer. Bum, 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 bum.
Bum.
They got to have the crowd chanting that shit. We are Farmer.
He should get sponsored by them.
Yeah, shout out Tevin Farmer. You can thank me for that promotional idea later.
Zoo coming back, fighting another guy. There's a lot of little comeback fights here. And then, of course, Kiki's coming out party that we're both excited about.
Yeah, man, that's going to be great. Kiki versus the big man. Biggest test of his career. We'll be watching closely. Maybe we'll be watching ringside.
It looks like we'll be watching ringside.
Because that's Boxing Podcast. We're only getting better. We're only getting stronger. We're only doing more things. So keep your eyes out for that.
That's right. I think that's all for today.
Yeah, I got to get to the track, man. It's track day. You want to come? Get some laps in?
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. I will come with you after this podcast is over.
Sounds great.
All right. Get your road work in. Until next time, I'm Dust.
I'm Coach.
And that's boxing.